Hey guys, and welcome back to another video on Persona 5 The Phantom X. My name is D-Free, joined by Blade, and today we're going to talk about the non-response we got from the devs, well, Sega specifically, in regards to a lot of the controversy surrounding this game. And I say non-response because if you've been keeping up with it over the course of the last couple of weeks, they did tell us, hey, we hear you, and we'll talk about that in the next upcoming broadcast. The broadcast was actually today, and we know everything that they're planning to do for the most part, and a lot of the community is not very happy about that. If you want to know more about like all of the controversy going on, I'm not really going to dive into that in this video, but when you finish this one, you can go ahead and click on the video in the description and hear about me, and I think maybe you were on that video with me as well, Blaze, but we're going to talk about that elsewhere. But just really briefly, one of the main points, I think a lot of people kind of lost the plot and started complaining about like rewards, things like that. But for me, I was always most curious and potentially upset about the fact that they put Marion in a position where Marion was going to be a character that's supposed to go to the standard gacha directly after, but they said, hey, we're not going to do that. And I said, well, that's interesting, because that could be a huge red flag for the future of how they're going to handle this. It could be she's going to pop up, 2 months later, as opposed to how she was supposed to, maybe 3 months. But they decided that she's going to be actually exclusive to her individual release gacha, which, by the way, I think is gone now, right? They've decided that it's going to be there. Yeah, exactly. So they not only do they tell you this stuff, they tell you after the fact, which is hilarious. They decided she's going to actually be exclusive to the people that pulled for her and her own individual banner for 6 months. And the way I understand it, it's one of those things that's kind of open for interpretation unless they say otherwise. But the way I understand it is we're going to continue to get standard character releases, and they're going to gatekeep those characters until we get to the 6-month anniversary for this game. And at that point, some or all of those characters will be added in a separate banner that I don't believe is a standard banner, right? I think it was like a separate, the way I don't know, maybe the way I understood it's a little different from you. But either way, they're not going to be available again until then. So that is probably the worst news you could hear. Now, it's not nuclear, because some of the characters admittedly were skips. They were characters that a lot of people weren't going to summon for anyway. But newsflash, that's why they're doing it. So we're going to talk about the characters that you guys should be prioritizing, and then we'll talk more about the way that we got that response. Blades, firstly, guys, if you haven't already, make sure you check out my link in the description. What is one character? We're going to list 4 or 5. One character that people now, with this information and the idea that they're going to be gatekeeping these characters for at least a handful of months here. What are some characters people should be prioritizing summoning for when their banner rolls around?
Phoebe. Phoebe's one of the few standard characters that's definitely important.
And what about Phoebe specifically?
It's mainly because she's our first 5-star navigator, and she's going to be the first like offensive one that you're going to need. This character is still used today in pretty much TW in general, so you're going to use her a lot in Guild Boss, SOS, and even once we do get the future 2 like navigators that are better than her, she still is being used in Guild Boss.
Interesting. Okay. And when does this character actually release relative to the patch we're on now?
If I'm correct, she should release in between, I want to say it's Makoto and Cord. If I'm right, Makoto came first, and then after Makoto Nijima, they needed a standard character, which was her. And then we had Cord in 2.0.
Okay. And yeah, I need you to kind of push us a little bit along, because I actually loaded the page without the translation. So there's that. But I'll take your word for it. Really good navigator, one that most people should be prioritizing. Is she the #1 standard character then at that point?
At that point in time, yes.
Okay.
But like later on, she is kind of dethroned by a couple other characters.
Yeah, but that's where we start pushing the thing down the road, and it's like, okay, well, you could just maybe summon for that character instead, but for now, you probably would be best suited to pull for Phoebe, or you could also just decide to wait until the 6-month anniversary and see what they're cooking up then, and then go into it at that point. That's on the table, I guess. Like, I don't know if these characters will all be there, or if the characters that are like 2 months out from the anniversary or whatever, if they're going to get delayed until later. Who knows? Maybe they come out at Christmas. I don't know. or not Christmas, the 1 year anniversary, excuse me. So like, who knows, man? Ultimately, that's where this could also go. That's the most annoying thing about this, is that we're in this period where there's just so much unknowns, right? So it remains to be seen what they plan to do. All right, so what is the next one that you wanted to highlight here?
The next character, is it just, are we limited just standard characters or limited in?
Okay, yeah, because it's not as bad for the limited characters, because we already knew what was happening with them. They didn't really change anything with that.
Yeah, the next standard character is gonna be Howler. Howler is really good. She is a very insane debuffer, one that is mainly meant for at least her single target abilities of debuffing. But the good part about Howler is she does single target debuffs and AoE debuffs, and it procs off of what first skill you use. So like her first skill from right is more of her single target debuff, and if you use her third skill, it's a single target debuff as well. That's even better. But if you use the second skill, then the third skill turns into an AoE debuff, which the second skill is an AoE debuff as well, and they both stack very nicely.
Nice. Is she? Are there any current characters that you're going to want to mostly use her with, or are you trying to make her a piece for a future team that we would have?
She's pretty much universal. She's one of those debuffers that if you just want to put in a debuffer, she will work either way in any team. And it's just because, of course, AoE and single target, she's one of those characters you can go with. Okay,
sounds good. Let's rapid fire 3 more if you can. Give me one right now. I'll pull it up and we'll kind of bounce around.
All right, Turbo. She's actually right there. Yep. Another one here, absolutely amazing buffer here. She does pin buffs. She does a lot of just regular defensive buffs, attack buffs. You name it, she got it. She's perfect for that.
Support character? Is she S tier supporter or what?
I would say if we have S plus tier and S tier, yeah, she would be an S tier character. Okay. Really close to like must have type deal.
Okay.
And then the other character, because they don't have many 5 stars anymore at that point, we won't include Cherish. Cherish isn't too good. The next 5-star, I'm trying to think if there's one more standard that's decent here.
Hey, at least the game uses different tickets for the standard characters.
Yeah, they have a couple of them that are absolutely nice. But the thing is with the standard units is I wouldn't recommend Cherish, because he's more of a defensive character. He's nice, but there aren't really many times where you're going to need a defender, so he's kind of a skippable standard.
Okay.
If you get him, cool, but you don't need him.
Well, if there's only a few that you think, then that's perfectly fine as well.
Yeah, I think that's really it. We don't have many that are like insane here, and I feel like someone's going to correct me, because I feel like there's one character that's slipping my mind, but they're not there right now. Pretty sure that's all of them though, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Howler and Turbo, definitely invest into them too. Same as Phoebe.
Awesome. Well, I mean, that's perfectly fine. The less, the better, right? So what that tells me is that we're going to get a number of them in that period, though, that are skips that people see. That's where it's also, to be honest, that's where it's also like not as bad, because at least they're not pulling this, fuckery with the main characters. They're just doing it with the side characters. So there's that, even though some of them are really good, like we were talking about. But still, you won't see any defense for it from me. I think it's terrible what they're doing.
I can't defend them on this one.
No. There's no way to defend it. This is one of those changes, and I guess now that we've done that, and for the record, guys, we mainly focused on standard characters because, like I said, the characters are totally separate from the other pool. But this is where we can kind of segue into some of that response stuff. And to me, I think they handled that about as bad as they could possibly handle it, because what they did, firstly, the community was complaining about transparency. Well, guess what? They told us their plan. They said you're gonna wait for 6 months or whatever, and there you go. That's what you're gonna do, and you're gonna like it. Now, thankfully, we know that, and that allowed us to make this video and give you guys a little bit of foresight. However, I hate it when companies, and we were talking about this previously, try to act like we don't know what's happening. They try to treat us like we're stupid. And that's the whole reason that these companies do this in the first place, is because they know that we know what to pull for. They know that we know what the good stuff is, what the skips are, and that stuff makes its way around. And ultimately for them, they're in it at the end of the day to make money, right? And so for them, they don't have people pulling on these banners. And so when you make this game with that big of a gap and all that intel, all the players know what to do. And so what can you do if you're Sega? You can either let things go, let all these banners flop, basically waste everybody's time, as that's the way that I think they're looking at it, right? Or you can put these out with FOMO tied to them and not make people wait 1 month like typical, or 2 months even. Let's make them wait a large period of time so they really have FOMO. And at that point, if they really like the character, if this is your waifu or whatever, you at that point will pull. And ultimately, pulling is the gateway to you potentially spending money, which is what they want to do. They want to make you a one-time customer, because if you're a one-time customer, you're more likely to come back again. And that's why this game and all these other games also have those super duper cheap $5 packs that you get, like daily recurring currency for blah, blah, blah. It's all manipulation. So for them, that I think is the worst possible way to handle it, though, because you're looking at it from the consumer, or not from the consumer perspective, from the corporate perspective, when you need to be looking at it from the perspective of the people actually playing your game. And I think that most of the games that try to do this speed run crap don't understand that. They don't understand that you need to be looking at it from that perspective. And so they're trying to give out, like, they're giving out a multi for the premium gacha. They're giving out a weapon coin multi. Ooh, big deal. Like, that's hush money. They want you to take that shut up and go be happy, right? But I think that with this, ultimately, this is a multifaceted issue.
It's very interesting because the way that they're going about it is, it's very, I want to say immature, but like for a company standpoint, it makes sense on them. But you really got to look at the people who are also playing your game. There are still going to be aspects that you need players to play. And if you're not going to be appeasing that side as well, you're going to lose players. You're going to start losing people. It's going to be a whole downward spiral of people not wanting to touch the game. And where most companies can do, and what we were talking about earlier, is they can easily just brush it aside. They can easily mess with reviews. They can do stuff like that will eventually lead them to making the game look better than what it actually is. Yeah. And that's not something that we want to have there. It's not something I approve of. It's not something that most people like in general, but it does happen. And it sucks to see it. But it was one of the few things I was telling people. I'm like, hey, if they're going to go about this, we got to make sure it's known for good reason. Got to make sure if we're going to review, we got to review rightly. And it's bad because I don't like how they're treating global. It doesn't make it seem fair. Heck, it's not fair. And it's just embarrassing, especially when the other communities are making fun of it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to give them just a teeny modicum of credit, because with all of this, they could have done that stuff. But by that same coin, they could have just never said anything about it in the first place and just let things just crash and burn. So the fact that they at least came out is something. And there is some positive with them improving the maintenance rewards. But like that, okay, so like stuff like that is dumb, because if we didn't say anything about that, they would have never said anything about it. Like that, exactly. That was something that didn't even need to change in the first place. That was one of those things that they looked at and said, nah, that's too generous. We need XYZ to happen. We're forecasting them to have X amount of gems so that they can put that towards this, that, and the other. But if we give them just a little bit more, right? That's not where we want them to be. So let's change it. Albeit it's only like 600 or whatever in aggregate. That's still too much. We don't want them to have that. That's where these companies do that scummy crap on the side that has no merit. There's no reason to do that other than pure greed. They changed that from 100 to 300, and they're going to give that extra 300 because we're not getting codes apparently on global. But that should have always been the case. Like nobody should have had to complain about that. So exactly. So to me, that's dumb. But yeah, they absolutely know what they're doing, and this game was absolutely put out the way it was intentionally. There was no mishaps here, no mistakes. They laid out a plan for this game in the global server, and that was their plan. It was to try to make it as different as possible from the other version, for better or worse, shuffle things up. Who knows? Like we talked about this previously as well. Who knows what the order looks like? Maybe they shuffle the damn order. Maybe they speed run a character that's super good, like the ones you were talking about earlier, and that character comes out way ahead of schedule. Who knows? Like that type of stuff is on the table, right? Because they're making it a point to shuffle this stuff up so that we're on our toes and we're not aware of what's happening and what's coming. So ultimately, though, with this game, in my last video, I said maybe this is a game where you play it, learn the characters, and then move on to the other server, so you don't got to deal with translation stuff as much. I do wonder how many people are going to take that approach. And there are also going to be a ton of people that just say, screw this game, I'm out, because of stuff like this. And those are people you're never going to get back. But the harsh reality is from the corporate side, as long as the game is up, there's a possibility for new players to download and replace you. And that's what they're banking on. They're looking at it from that perspective of, oh, we lost, let's say, 1,000 players. Well, we had 5,000 downloads this month. How many of those do we retain? Oh, 500. Okay, perfect. We already got half those players. Okay, so you look at it a month later, 250 people went down. Okay, that's fine. We lost 250 of the 500, but we have a celebration this month. We got 20,000 downloads. You know, like that's the way that these games go. And so they're able to keep operating, you know, based on that type of stuff. Those are just random numbers, but that's just the idea of the logic. But are you at this point still like super invested in global?
Well, I was never going to like hardcore use money on global anyways or anything. But yes, I'll still be covering global, but my content is always like TW/global. That's just how it's always going to be. I'm mainly going to be there for, of course, guide probability, helping out people as much as possible. But that right there sucks because I was genuinely thinking about it to an extent to actually investing a little bit on global to at least keep my account pretty much afloat. It kind of like my TW, but instead of how I do my TW where I spend a lot more, I was only going to spend a little on global. Now with that in the way, they're probably not getting a dime from me for a hot minute because I just don't like that practice. It's not right, and I don't like it at all.
Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of where I'm at. I was super enthusiastic about the game. Well, I never really got like super invested monetarily in the other servers, but I was super enthusiastic about the game, was really excited to make content on it and all that stuff. But ever since all this stuff happened, I've found my interest dwindle. And it's not because the IP or anything like that. It's all just because of management. And with that being the case, like I will be around, but I can't say that I'm invested anymore to the point where I wanted to be, which is really unfortunate. And like I said earlier, I'm just one of many, right? Like or one of the minority is what I'll say. It doesn't really matter to them if they lose me, right? Now, obviously the numbers can add up and there's going to be many people like me, but I'll continue playing, right? I enjoy the game. I enjoy this series and all that stuff. I'll continue playing, but I'm not going to be wailing. Like one of my first videos was I did 2 whale videos on Joker's banner. Like I titled one video like $200 for Joker, and then I kept going. Like I did another one. Like so, I'm not gonna do that anymore because I just can't. Yeah, right? Like I just can't. So like I didn't spend anything this whole patch. To be honest, I hardly even played this whole patch. Like I didn't. I hardly even played. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like I didn't really. That's a separate thing. I've been super on Uma, which is hilarious. I never thought I'd be on Uma. Same. That game is addicting, bro. And I don't even like Psy Games either as a company, but whatever. So just to conclude here, there are some good characters coming out that I think that you guys should be prioritizing from the standard gacha. Again, that has nothing to do with all the other collab characters or premium characters, but just the standard gacha. But inevitably, a lot of them are also going to be skips, and we'll see how they handle it all. Hopefully you got your Marion if she's your waifu, because they didn't tell you beforehand that she would take 6 damn months. Like, I thought it would be a couple months, like maybe 1 month later, but I didn't think it'd be that long. Like, I think that's terrible. I think that's terrible. That, like, seriously, I don't know if enough people are going to mention this. I think it's terrible and terrible communication that they didn't tell anybody, because there inevitably was somebody, and probably a number of somebodies that were like, let me wait and see when she'll be added, because they said they'll bring it up in the thing, and okay, maybe it's going to be a couple months, and I could wait that long. Now they got to wait 6 months. And they really wanted her. Like that. I think that's terrible. That banner should have at least been up for another week if that's the case. But that's something that they overlooked. So, any final things you wanted to say?
Not much really. For the people who still want to play, listen, I'll say y'all this: don't be discouraged by that. Don't let people tell you not to play, because at the end of the day, have fun. Do what you want to do. Yep. If you're having fun on global, you have fun on global. Are they making some dumb choices? Yes, they are. But listen,
it's a good game. It's a good game.
It's a good game.
I do.
It's a really good game.
I think it's a good game. It's just poorly run. That's the problem.
It's badly ran. So for y'all out there, don't let people take you off that square. Play your game. Have your fun. And just enjoy.
Yeah. And last thing I wanted to say, because I've been staring at her for a minute here. Yao Lin. So I was in this boat. She was the only character, at least prior to the last patch, that I didn't have. Not this one, of course. So here's the thing. If you've been sitting on tickets, I think now it was a safe time to say just go until you get her, right?
Yeah.
Because, like, I've been sitting on tickets waiting to see what they do with this, and she's the only character prior to Bowie and Marion that I didn't have, and I'm like, well, I can get back a number of tickets by the time the half anniversary rolls around. So yeah, so that's one thing I'm gonna do, is just pull for Yao Lin, because she's super good and is one of the best characters to have at the start of the game. So that's one of the things that I will do, and you guys may be well off doing as well. Here's the correct version of her. So you said you agree with that, though?
Yeah, I agree with it, because it's the only real character that's worth getting at this point. That and An,
yeah, pretty much. And An was the one from the Lufel plan, and so that was fine. And then also An's on the other banner anyway, that if you're a brand new player, you can just get her pretty easily there. So she's so, like, you can also make the argument that until more characters are added, there's no point in pulling, especially if you already have her. Then you could just wait. But yeah, I think I'm gonna go the full 300 and then just select her. Hopefully I don't have to, but I'm gonna go the full 300 if needed, and then select her and call it from there, because I've been sitting on these. I got dozens and dozens of them. I'm gonna get shafted, but we'll see. Anyways, guys, hope you all enjoyed the video. Again, make sure you check out BLADECIFER, link down below in the description. As you guys can tell, super duper knowledgeable about the game, so check them out, link down below. And if you wanted to see the videos that I did covering the controversy on the screen right now, you can find one of them to go into much greater detail. There was, like, I don't want to say a dozen things, but there was like 7 or 8 things that were kind of happening. It felt like we hit a point where, like, this happened, that happened, this happened, that is, like, what the fuck are they doing? Like, why would you even change much? So make sure you check that video out. It's on the screen, and we'll see you over there.